Good Sunday evening, everyone. Hope you've had a lovely weekend. Welcome to Cherries Red Army, another live stream coming your way. First of all, though, well done to the AFC Bournemouth women's team today. They won 5-0 in the cup. They kept their unbeaten run going. We recently spoke to Becky Bath earlier in the week, and I think she got a goal as well. So keep supporting the AFC Bournemouth women's team. Well done to them. Today, though, we're back on the tier list trail. We did a part 1 tier list at the start of the season before a ball was kicked. We tried to predict that championship table at the end. And then part 2, we picked up in the first international break. We reviewed it, revisited it, and made some amendments. And tonight we're back for part 3. And we want you to get involved in the chat. You can help us, give us your thoughts. We're going to move some of these teams around, I'm sure of that. And I'll have a panel of guests joining me very, very soon. First, if you're new to the channel, please do subscribe. We're on a slow road up to 700. We really appreciate our current subscribers, but new to the channel, hit that subscribe button. Also, at some point in this stream, we'd also appreciate a like. It really does help the channel, and hit notification bell so you don't miss a single video. Right, we're going to get on with it. The championship is back very, very soon. We're in an international break. Let's have a look at those tier lists. Let's have a look at the last one. Are we getting any better at it? Well, let's find out.
Switch.
And losing a couple of great players, not really having the money to bring in a new player. I don't rate their manager.
With my extensive knowledge on Hull City, I'm gonna chuck them. Do you know what? I'm gonna go 7th to 12th for Hull City.
Really?
Yeah.
God, dear.
I've got a feeling, but obviously, yeah, you can interject.
No, I wouldn't go down. As I said, other teams who came up and other teams already in the league are far worse than them.
And there is our championship predictor table when we think that 46-game final whistle goes.
Switch.
Yeah, all looked doom and gloom for them, didn't it? But this is one I didn't agree with when I watched the original show. I don't like to automatically write teams off.
They brought in a load of older players that are on the back end of their career. I am really worried about Reading.
I'm not worried.
Whether they get relegated. Well, if they go down, it's whatever. But for their fans, I'm worried. I'm worried for Reading fans. But
And I honestly do think we could challenge for top 2.
There you have it. That's our revised tier list at this just after international break. I'm looking at that tier list already and think that was only about 5 or 6 games ago. Anyway, here's my guest for this evening. Been on part 1 and 2. Aaron, how are you?
Yeah, very good, thank you. Looking forward to discuss how wrong we got it only a few weeks ago.
Also, John, a regular, you're also on part 1 and 2. How are you doing?
Yeah, doing all right. Looking forward to correcting all the mistakes we've already made over the last couple of parts.
And our third guest is AFC Bournemouth fan, second appearance on Cherries Red Army. Now, you're sitting in a beautiful position, Matt Davies, that you can't be blamed for any of part 1 or 2, and you can try
to help us
get this right. How are you? How are you, Matt?
Yeah, very well, Kurt. Looking forward to this.
Okay, let's take a look, shall we, at that current championship table. Look where we are, boys. Cherries are top of the championship currently with 25 points. West Brom in second. Coventry, Stoke, Fulham and Queen's Park, they're in the playoffs currently. In the relegation zone, we've got Barnsley, Peterborough and Derby, and the other lot of teams make up the middle section of the championship. So thank you for currently joining us. We've got Chris in the chat. We've got Paul, Jacob up the Cherries. We've got Sammy, Mark, how are you? I've seen Carol in there as well. We've also got another Mark Collins. How are you doing? And Daniel's in there as well from the States. And we hope more join us. And we want you to get involved, as we say, in just a bit. Let's take a look then at that last tier list that we did. So this was the revised one from the first international break. You're currently seeing it on the screen. Already, guys, a couple of are already pointing out to me already that they seem to be in the wrong spot. Aaron, we're going to get right into it in a minute. But yeah, looking at that last prediction.
Yeah, so, as I said, 5 weeks or 6 weeks is a very long time in football, isn't it? I certainly think that some teams who in those bottom three sections should be swapping around with a few of each other, should I say. Things can change obviously very quickly, but yeah, I can foresee a handful at least some changes here.
I remember a comment you made, John, on the last show. You said, "I'm not too worried about it. We're going to be changing this in about 5 minutes."
Yeah, I wasn't wrong, was I? It's as we've set ourselves quite nicely for these, in that we haven't waited an entire season to look back at our tier list. We're constantly revising it, so we can never be too wrong, but we can still be quite far off on a few. And there's definitely a few teams there that might be moving more than one category.
Okay, right. We've also got Will joining us in the chat as well. So how's this going to work? You may have seen the other episodes. If you're new to this, basically what's going to happen is we're going to go through each team alphabetically. I'm going to give a team each to each guy. They're going to get a short period of time to talk about that team, and then they're going to either stick or twist. So they're going to stick with the position they're currently in on the tier list, or they're going to tell me they're going to twist and put them in a new position, a new category. Now, if one of the guys disagrees, they can come in and they're going to have 30 seconds to try and prove that other person that they should be in a different category. And for you guys in the chat currently watching, the fans, we want you to get involved. So as we're talking about the team, why don't you let us know by going, for example, in the chat, Barnsley stick or Barnsley twist, and where you're going to put them, what different category. And you'll see the banners on the bottom of the screen as we're going through this, and it will give you some information in there, and it will give you the prediction or where we predicted them to be. Does that all make sense, guys?
Yeah, makes sense.
Right, so we're going to get on with it. But who goes first? That's a good question, isn't it? Well, what I'm going to do is actually put a question to all of you guys. Whoever gets the answer right will go first. So I'm going to come individually around. Marcondes, a long time since he played a lot of football, but he scored our first goal of the season in the Championship. But in what minute did he score? So, Aaron, the closest who gets to it, what minute?
I honestly can't remember. 21st?
21st for Aaron. John, what minute?
Yeah, 19th, I'm going to go with.
Matt, what minute?
I thought it was a little bit earlier, actually. I'm going to go 17.
Okay. What was your one, John? Just remind me.
19th.
Okay, so 17th, 19th, and Aaron, you were definitely later than that. Marcondes scored our first goal of the Championship season against West Brom in the 12th minute. So that is going to go for a win to Matt, his first appearance on this tier list show, and he's going to go first. So here we go then, Matt. We're going to go with Barnsley. So Barnsley are currently 22nd. They've got 8 points. They've won one game, drawn 5, lost 5, goal difference -7. Their current form guide is drawn, loss, loss, loss. We predicted 7th to 12th, Matt.
No, straight away I'm going to say that I'm going to twist on that, if I may, because I just think they've lost their manager and they've lost their best player, their most pivotal player probably in Mowat, and that's affected them. I know they've changed their style, and I know they mix up some aspects of their style are still similar under the new boss, but I just feel that they're not going to be anywhere near the playoffs this season. And 7th to 12th, I think, is ambitious for them. It was a bit of a freak for them last season to have the season that they did from nowhere, really, because they were relegation fodder before that, with all due respect. And that's where I pretty much see them this season. So I personally think they'll just about survive. But I would put them in that 13th to 21st, 13th to 21st category.
Lowest goal scorers in the league. We've got some coming through in the chat at the moment. Twist, they're definitely going to get moved. It looks like 23rd. That's going to be relegation for JK up the Cherries. So let's go back to that tier list then. So they're currently in 7th to 12th. You're wanting to stick them in 13th to 21st?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
And I don't hear anyone coming in. So we will go with that then. Barnsley are going to move and be twisted. Over then to Aaron, who's got the next team. And this is Birmingham, Aaron. And Birmingham, they are 16th, 12 points, won 3, drawn 3, lost 5, goal difference -5. Their form guide is loss, loss, drawn, loss, loss. We predicted 7th to 12th. And in this period between the international windows, they've really hit a problem.
Yeah, funny team, Birmingham. They had some really, really weird results. I mean, they thrashed Luton at home 5-0 when I think they got thrashed themselves, and obviously we got 3 points up there. I do still rate Lee Bowyer as a manager, and I'm not sure entirely what's going wrong there. I don't think they've been helped by the fact that they haven't got two sides of their stadium. That really can't help. Ludicrous situation for them, which, by the club, but can't be helping them for home games. They're kind of back to where most teams were last season with hardly any fans in, or at least two sides of it. Difficult one. We had them at 7th to 12th, as you say. I think if they were to stay there, they'd certainly be at the bottom end of that. I don't see them pushing for the playoffs. I don't see them in any relegation danger at all either, to be honest with you. So it's one of those difficult ones. It's one of those ones where it doesn't scream out, obviously, move them. But I think they might struggle to get in that 7th to 12th spot. And there's teams I can see below them now who I would swap with them for now. So, you know what? I'm going to move them down. I think they'll be like 13th, 14th, 15th, something like that. We could always move them back up if we realise we've screwed ourselves over a bit later on when we've got too many people in one category. But for now, unless anyone massively objects, I'm going to move them down. But that could literally be a couple of places in reality. But I don't think they're going to get 7 to 12.
So you're going to twist and move them down. We have got a couple here saying, they're agreeing. So I assume they're going with that. We've got playoffs here for Mark Collins. Aaron?
I mean, they got... I think they've got the manager. They've still got some of the players they've got are decent enough. And that's why I think we put them in that 7 to 12 category early on. This isn't a shoo-in for me. This isn't a definite move them down or anything like that. It's just a hunch I've got at the moment, probably based on their recent form. As I said, it's a bit of a toss of a coin, but I think I will move them down to the top half of that category below.
Okay, so we're going to move Birmingham down. So they're going. This is what happened before, guys. If I remember, we started to load the 13th to 21st, didn't we? So Birmingham have gone down there as well. But that is the second team. We're going to move on then to the next team. And John, it's your turn. And you've got Blackburn. So they're currently 8th. They got 16 points. 1-4, drawn 4, lost 3. Goal difference +5. Form 1, drawn 1. Loss. We predicted 13th to 21st. However, they have got Brereton Diaz, who's been an unbelievable form. He got a hat-trick as well, and I think he's joint top goal scorer.
Yes, he is. He's joint top at the moment with the favourite Mitrovic on 10 goals. Yeah, the Chilean sensation that I had a really nice time describing his journey to a new work colleague on Friday night of his journey, which is such a good story over the summer. They just surprised everyone, I think, in terms of, they lost Armstrong. They didn't have Harvey Elliott anymore on loan, who obviously started for Liverpool at the beginning of their season. And it just looked like a far worse squad, really, in terms of general. They didn't have the man to bang the goals in anymore, and they there wasn't really anything that you could say that they were going to be any better than last season. They tailed off massively, whereas they've started really well, and it has been largely due to Brereton Diaz, I would say, and he continues to keep his form. But I think they've defended better, and they're creating plenty of good chances. I think when you look at how many other teams that we've sort of tailed off in the way that we didn't expect them to, Blackburn have got a real case for being in the top half of the table this season. Now, at the moment, they're 8th, and they have just lost their last 2 games, so they've tailed off slightly. But although I can't remember what the results were, I really don't think they really have suffered massively, and I don't think there's any particular reason why they've dropped off. And we've got spaces to fill in that top half position. So I will be moving Blackburn up a spot.
Okay, and they've beaten Hull City. They beat Cardiff 5-1. They drew against Luton. They drew against Barnsley, and they've lost their last 2 games, like you said, to Blackpool and Huddersfield. But we are going to move Blackburn into 7 and 12. And I'm not hearing any of the other 2 guys coming back, so they have gone in there.
Yeah, I agree.
Excellent. Okay, so that's Blackburn. They're going to go up, and they've been twist. And the next team then is for you, Matt, and this is Blackpool. Now, in the first tier list we did, or that international break, I don't think they had won a match. Obviously, they got a draw at Dean Court against us, coming back from 2-0 down. But since then, They are now 12th, points 15. They've won 4 games, drawn 3, lost 4, goal difference -3. Previous prediction I said was relegation, but they've had 4 wins in this spell, largely probably down to Shane Lowry.
Yeah, they impressed me from the second half onwards at Dean Court, as I think I've probably gone on record as saying. First half, I was thinking there was such a gap between us. We looked like a Premier League team. They looked like a League One team. It was the gap was huge between us, and I was thinking this is going to be 5 or 6-0. Second half, they come out. The attitude was there. The organisation was there. They closed up on us in midfield. They stifled us. They stopped us playing. And since then, they've been a little bit inconsistent, but having said that, they picked up some good results as well. They've clearly got fighting spirit. They've started to find the net a little bit more, and they've stopped leaking so many goals. I think they beat Fulham 1-0, didn't they? To keeping a clean sheet against Fulham is obviously no mean feat. So from where they are, where have we got them at the moment? In the bottom 3?
Yeah, relegation.
Yeah,
So
I'll take them out then. I'm going to twist again. I think they'll. I don't think they're not gonna pull up any trees. They're not gonna storm through the league. And it's such early days still, so they'll probably have a blip again. They'll probably go on a bad run. Ultimately, I think they will struggle. But I want to put them in that 13th to 21st. Yeah, I'm going to twist and take them out of that relegation zone.
And that 13th to 21st is looking busy already that they have gone in there. Happy with that, guys?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Shane Lavery. Aaron and I were in agreement in the first tier list that we both didn't think they were going to score enough goals. And Shane Lavery's an XG machine, and he is putting them away. I think he got injured, so it's a little bit worried for them. But yeah, they've been much better.
Welcome if you join us in the chat. We're going through the tier list predictions that we've done previously. We're repositioning quite a few teams at the moment. But hopefully we're going to get this more right on this part 3. Let us know your thoughts in the chat and where you'd put these teams. And we're going to move on to the next team, which is now for Aaron. It's Bournemouth's next opponents, Bristol City, next weekend. They're currently 9th, 16 points, won 4, drawn 4, lost 3, goal difference +1. Form guide, drawn, win, drawn, loss, win. Previous prediction was 7th to 12th. Aaron, this does feel very much like Bristol City, and I think they played a few matches without Nigel Pearson because I think he had COVID. So Bristol City.
Yeah, well, so Bristol City in the first tier list we did, I was much maligned for putting them where they are now. I think Dan and John both thought they might be struggling, and maybe yourself as well, Kurt. So this is gonna be nice and easy for me. And our first stick, I'm gonna stick with my guns and say they will still finish 7th to 12th, as I did at the beginning of the season, and they're proving me right because where they are, I don't think they're good enough for the playoffs. As we were talking before we came on, they've got an awful home record, which hopefully we can take advantage of in a few days' time. But I still think any Pearson team, he seems to have gotten a bit more organised. They're obviously good away form. Their home form will obviously improve at some stage. It's got to. Hopefully not next game. But yeah, I'm going to stick with them and keep them in the 7th to 12th where I think they'll end up.
Okay, so let's look at Bristol City. They are currently in 7th to 12th, and they're going to stay there as well. And it does look like the fans in the chat are currently joining with what you're thinking as well, Aaron. So we'll stick with that one as it is. We're going to move back to John then. We're going to move on to Alphabet C, and this is Cardiff City, John. They're currently 20th, 11 points, won 3, drawn 2, lost 6, goal difference -6, form. Lose. Previous prediction, 7th to 12th. Mick McCarthy hanging by a thread, surely.
Yeah, currently leader of the sack race, without a doubt. It's a really weird one with Cardiff. Because certainly the Mick McCarthy way, the players that he's got, there's only one way that you can play with the team that they've currently got, and that's the way that they've had success over the good few years now. I think they've certainly missed the creativity of Harry Wilson they had last year. He got, I think it was double figures worth of assists for them last season. And at the moment, I think they've only really got, I can't remember his name, but I certainly know that there's a player that's had a little bit of an injury that seems to be their only real creative outlet for Cardiff, and they're massively struggling without him. They played 5 centre-backs across a back 5 in one of their last 2 games, I think. And it is just, 10 outfield players over 6 foot, lump it forward and see what happens. And, with the form they're on, it's looking really bad. I think they did do quite well against Red. They were very unfortunate to lose against Reading in their last game. They got over 2 XG and managed to lose 1-0. So, there's certainly got no chance of getting into the top half of the table this season if they continue the way they're going. I don't see them getting relegated despite the form that they're on. Even if Mick McCarthy goes, we'll see what small bounce they get, but going to have to drop them into the 13th to 21st position from where they are, because I don't see them recovering to be a top half team at the moment. It's a difficult one.
Okay, so there's a twist from John there, and he's knocking them down into the next category. Anyone else coming in? Or are you happy with that?
Happy with that.
Okay. We got to move some teams out in a minute, and we're going to come to the next team, Matt. You're going to get the next championship team on the list, and these have been a surprise package in these set of fixtures between the international windows, and that is Coventry City. They are currently, wait for the banner to come around, they're third. They've got 22 points, won 7, drawn 1, lost 3, goal difference +4. Form guide is win, draw, win, lose, win. We previously predicted, Matt, 13th to 21st. They've had some very, very good wins. They turned a 1-0. They were losing 1-0 to Fulham. They turned that round in the second half. They've had some good wins, especially at home.
Yeah. I don't think you can underestimate the difference it's made, them moving back to the Ricoh Arena, moving back to the city. It's get from where they were last season. I know they stayed up fairly comfortably in the end, but they struggled a little bit first season up. The move back to Coventry has just given them so much impetus, and Mark Robbins, I really rate as well as a manager. As he's become more experienced as a manager, the better he's been, really. And they've got some good players. But the fact of them coming back to Coventry is massive for them, I think. So I personally, I wouldn't have them in. I'm going to twist again. I wouldn't have them in 13th to 21st because they've had such a good start. You can't really rule them out for finishing higher than that because they've been so impressive. A little bit inconsistent. I'm probably going to move them up the next rung. So I'll move them up because I don't think there's always a surprise package, isn't there? I mean, you think about ourselves in 14-15. Who at the start of that season would have said Bournemouth are going to win the league? No one. So there's always at least one surprise. You had it Barnsley last season. There's at least one surprise package in the Championship, and they could be it. But I just think they'll run out of a little bit of steam as the season goes on. And I personally think they'll be in that 7th to 12th bracket because they've had such a good start. They've got the momentum. So I think they'll finish somewhere there and just miss out on the playoffs.
Okay. While we're talking about Coventry very quickly, Matt, they're currently sitting third. Could you see them being in the playoffs come 46 games?
Well, on current form, yeah. I mean, we're still talking really early days in the Championship. Do you remember, I was thinking about this earlier on, do you remember when we got promoted from League One? We were in the bottom 3 in October when we went before Eddie and Jason come back. So again, we'd be sat here saying, well, Bournemouth are going to go, they're not going to win the league, are they? Or get promoted. So that's how quickly things can change, and none more so than in the Championship. So we are talking very early days still. On current form, yes, of course I can see them getting playoffs because the results back it up and their performances as well. I just think as the season goes on, the strength of some of the other teams, some of the squads you've got in there, including ourselves, you look at Sheffield United, Stoke, QPR, West Brom, Fulham, I just don't think they'll have quite enough to keep pace with us boys. So I see them finishing maybe 8th or 9th.
But we have moved the team up into that 7th to 12th bracket. Coventry City have gone in there. And we move on and we move back to Aaron, and he now has Derby County. They're currently 24th. We'll come back to that in a moment. Points 2, won 4, drawn 3, lost 4, goal difference -1. Form guide drawn, win, lose, win, draw. Now, people are probably thinking, hang on, they've won 4 matches, they got 2 points. Yeah, they had a 12-point deduction, and that's why they're currently sitting bottom of the table on 2 points. But we did originally, our previous prediction, I think, was 13th to 21st. That's because Steve Hensman was on part 2, Aaron, and he felt that they would have enough to stay out of that relegation zone. And to be fair, could they still have enough?
Well, I think in the first one we put them as relegation certs. They were a total mess. Even before the points deduction, they were short of players, and I couldn't see anything else but relegation for them. And then I think they had, as you say, not such a terrible start to the season as we predicted, and they were moved up. Obviously, that 12-point deduction has put them right down to the root of the table again. As Bournemouth fans, we know that a minus isn't necessarily your complete dooms ticket. So I wouldn't want to completely write them off. But based on other teams that we can see, and I don't know if they're due another points penalty. There are rumours about a further points penalty. I'm not sure, which will clearly completely ruin them. But let's assume for now they're not going to get that. I would still keep them bottom three. I don't. They have been a bit more impressive, a bit more of a siege mentality, I guess, and that's what Rooney's going to have to work on. And could they escape? Yeah, of course they could escape. But it's only 9 points at the moment, So as you say, the championship can change very quickly. But as of now, I'm going to keep them in that bottom three, based on who I'm trying to think who else could fall down, seeing as we move some other teams up. We might be doing this after the next international break, and they could already be out of it, in which case we'll revise it again. But for now, I'm going to keep them in that bottom three for a number of reasons. Points deduction, the fact I still don't rate their squad particularly, and they're a bit of a mess.
Okay, but they have had some okay results, haven't they? They have done okay, and they've picked up some points to get them back into the plus points. So, but that's fair enough. And like the chat have said, and like you've said, there might be more points deductions on their way. So Derby fall into the relegation zone. Let's go back to you then, John. And you've got Harry Wilson's Fulham. They're currently fifth, points 20, won 6, drawn 2, lost 3, plus 10 form. 1 loss, drawn 1 loss. We predicted automatics. I just said that they did lose a game they were winning against Coventry, but they have got Mitrovic, who's the joint top goal scorer.
Yes, and this is an interesting one to place because really you basically got to consider our position in the tier list when you look at Fulham and maybe West Brom in terms of which area I put them in, because in the end of the day, Fulham have got the best squad in the division as far as I'm concerned. The depth of quality that they have in there, when we came down, we sold players and didn't bring anyone in apart from 2 loan players. They were able to strike a deal to bring in Harry Wilson for nothing, for an entirely deferred payment for 12 months. And he is probably the most creative player in the division. Arguably with the likes of John Swift and Ryan Christie, and if David Brooks could perform, he'd be there. But I still think Fulham will be top 2. I think they may have dipped, and I think it's the nature of a team that's so full of quality that now and again they will just not perform, and it will make them look a lot worse than they actually are. I mean, I watched the Coventry Fulham game, and they weren't great to win 1-0, and then Coventry just turned it on. And they made a horrible mistake for the first goal. It wasn't a penalty for the second goal, and by that point, Coventry was steamrolling them. I'm going to say that they'll probably stay top 2. I just think they still have that quality, and that's where I'm going to stick them.
There's some fans in the chat thinking that they need to go in the playoff positions, Aaron and Matt. That would mean that West Brom or Bournemouth potentially miss out on the automatics. We're going to come to them yet. Going to agree with John, or does anyone want to come in? Matt, you look keen.
Yeah, I want to come in. I'm going to say that they won't finish top 2, and the reason is I don't rate their manager. I think Steve on the last show went on record as saying that Marco Silva, I just don't rate him as a manager. And when you speak, Aaron, I think you said it as well. You speak to Watford fans, you speak to Everton fans, and I know a few Watford fans, and they don't rate him at all. And I just think that could be what holds them back, because as John rightly says, they probably got the best squad in the division. I wouldn't actually swap our squad for theirs at the moment for obvious reasons, because I think we've got a brilliant blend and we've got the right manager so far. But the manager, it fills me with that. And when you look at us, you look at West Brom, I'd drop them into the playoff positions myself. I understand what John would say top 2 because of the players they've got, the squad they've got.
Yeah, it's a difficult one because dropping them down, we all know what that potentially means later on. I agree that, again, on paper, the best squad, but I think Mick McCarthy summed it up with us that we're one of the perfect Championship teams. We know we got a lot of nous about us now. We got mix, we got everything we can rough out. And West Brom for me are a horrible team to play against, and they're suited the Championship nailed on. So for me, yeah, best squad. I agree. I don't rate Silva, never have, and I just think that perhaps they're just not Championship savvy enough. But when the player you got Mitrovic and players like that who are going to score goals for fun, they're not going to be short. They're not going to be far off at all. So I guess we could potentially keep them where they are for now, and then the discussion's all about us, isn't it, or West Brom later on, I guess.
Well,
Okay, John. Well, at this stage, John, it's your decision. There's 2 challenges there, but you get the final decision, John.
So I actually disagree that West Brom are necessarily all that cut out at the moment for the Championship, in the way that they have recently kind of really dropped off. They've deserved to not be picking up as many points over the last few weeks. And whereas with West Brom, you know, they kind of really at times can only score from free kick, from corners and throw-ins. They're set piece machines, but if that doesn't work, they don't really have anything else. With Fulham, you basically just put it in the box and Mitrovic is going to score. He's just such a machine in this league. His record stat speaks for itself. When you have even the likes of Seri, Wilson, Mitrovic, those 3 players on their own can run a game. Whereas West Brom, if their plan A doesn't work, their plan A is most teams' plan B. And if their plan A doesn't work, they can't pass it around the way that other teams can, like Bournemouth and Fulham. So I would actually say if I was going to drop a team from those top 2, it's more likely for me to be West Brom, which is why I would actually keep Fulham in there at the moment.
Okay. Right, we'll come to that later on then. So Fulham are going to keep their spot. They're currently in the automatics. Let's move on then. Matt, you're the next team, and that is Huddersfield. Position 7th, points 17, 1-5, drawn 2, lost 4, +2 goal difference, win, lose, win, draw. We predicted 13th to 21st. Such a weird team, aren't they, Matt, Huddersfield? I didn't expect a lot out of them this season. I've actually think they've done better than I would have expected. Such a difficult one, this one.
I'm getting all the surprise packages, aren't I? Coventry, Huddersfield. Yeah, start of the season, I thought when you looked at a bottom 3 and you had to choose 3 teams to go down, you look at the 3 promoted teams and you think, yeah, they'll probably all struggle a little bit, but at least one of them will be all right, surely. So who else do we look at? I looked at Huddersfield. I thought they're struggling. They're on a downward curve since Wagner's left. You know, a lot of players have left the club. There doesn't seem to be much stability there. And I think they'll struggle this season. They'll probably get relegated. They've been outstanding, really. To be honest, the first 11 games, the surprise package of the division, along with Coventry at the moment. So I would put them in that sort of bracket, really. I think they're going to go down now. They're playing some good football. They're scoring goals. I think what was their last result? They beat Blackburn, I think, at home, didn't they? Had a big win against Blackburn. And drew at Luton. So not only are they scoring goals and winning games, they're showing that they can grind out results as well. To go away to Luton and draw 0-0 is a great result for them. I think they're going to be fairly strong. Again, as the season goes on, they might drop off a little bit. They might sort of flirt with the playoffs and challenge a little bit and drop off. But as it stands, I would probably put them in the 7 to 12 bracket.
Oh, so you're wanting to twist and move them up then?
Twisting again, yeah.
There they are. Okay, let's go for that. Let's move them into there. And we'll come to you then, Aaron. And the next team on the list is Hull City. What an away day this was. Not. They are currently 21st, points 9, 1-3, drawn 2, lost 6, goal difference -9. Form was lose, drawn, win. We predicted relegation for them, Aaron, but they have picked up some results lately. I think they beat Middlesbrough at home 2-0 late. Yeah, how are you feeling about Hull City?
Not a great deal for them, to be honest with you. I said it was. I didn't go to Hull, but you know, it wasn't a great game, and they struggled to score goals. Yeah, I mean, again, this isn't. If I was to keep them where they are, I wouldn't say they're nailed on relegation. I don't think they are nailed on relegation. They could survive if they pick it up a bit. But again, you know, sort of thinking who's going to go down, who's going to just survive, teams to come. So again, with no real massive certainty, I'm going to probably stick and keep them where they are. I think if they do stay up, it'll be by the skin of their teeth. But I just don't see them scoring enough goals. I think they'll go down.
Okay, so we'll stick with Hull City, currently in the relegation zone. We think they'll be there after 46 games. Next team then, back round to you then, John, and Luton Town. They're currently 13 points, 14, 1-3, drawn 5, lost 3, goal difference +2. Form guide, drawn, lost, win, drawn. We predicted 7th to 12th. They've had some indifferent results at home. They let a 3-0 lead go at half-time to Swansea, but then they did have that 5-0 win against Coventry as well. I mean, Luton on their day can be a good side, and they did give us a good run for their money, or our money, shall we say, at Dean Court.
Yeah, and I kind of called that they were going to do something special in our watch along, didn't I? I didn't expect it to be that game. To be fair, against Coventry, but they did put it in and absolutely batter Coventry. One of those games where every chance they had, they scored. But I think it was myself in the first part one put them in 7th to 12th because I really did think that they were a team that were on the up. And you know, they went on a 6-game streak without a win, which included that 3-3 draw against Swansea. But they weren't playing badly. They were performing well. They were making chances, scoring goals, and maybe just the defensive record wasn't helping them. But they then picked up that 5-0 win against Coventry. They've drawn their next game since then, and their system is one that they are doing really well with, and they've had a few bad injuries that have prevented them of keeping their start going. If Adebayo could put the ball in the back of the net from 4 yards, they would have picked up an extra point at least from us. And despite that, he's still in the top 20 goal scorers this season with 5. So I really do think there's no reason to change it from where they are, and I'll be sticking with Luton in 7th to 12th.
Sticking with Luton in 7th to 12th. So they got work to do to get themselves in the official table into that position, but we'll stick with that as it is. Back to you then, Matt. And you just said that, you're getting some weird teams that you're having to discuss. And here's another one for you. Borough, Middlesbrough, position 15th, points 12, 1-3, drawn 3, lost 5, goal difference -2. Form, win, lose, win, lose. Previous prediction was 7th to 12th. What a strange team, Matt. They can go and beat Sheffield United at home 1-0 and then lose to Hull City away 2-0.
Yeah, and that's just it. It's consistency, and Neil Warnock will be tearing his hair out, I'm sure, in that dressing room with them boys at the moment, because they're just not finding the consistency. At the start of the season, I didn't think they'd make the playoffs, Middlesbrough, but I know many people tipped them to get in there. And I think on your original tier list show, I think you actually tipped them to get in those playoffs, and I thought they'd probably be top 10, because with a Neil Warnock team, they're going to be difficult to beat. They're going to set up well. They're not going to score too many goals, but they're not going to concede many either. And they're going to be fairly consistent. And I had them down pretty much sort of top 10 again. I don't think they've invested that heavily in the playing squad. I don't think they've got the money to do so. So I had Warnock just ticking them along. And I think that's going to be the case again this season. I think they'll be absolutely fine. They're going to be middle of the road for me. They're in that 7th to 12th bracket again. I think they'll have some good results, some bad results, but ultimately they'll finish about 10th.
Okay, let's go back to the tier list. So I think you are right, Matt. I think we did originally put them in the playoffs. We then moved them into 7th to 12th, and you're going to stick with 7th to 12th.
Yeah, I'm going to stick this time. Yeah.
I have an objection to that.
Your Honour.
So, John, 30 seconds to challenge Matt on 7th to 12th for Middlesbrough. Go for it.
Well, so the thing is, the Middlesbrough did actually put quite a bit into their transfer over the summer, but the problem is that they've kind of started to shift their team away from the Middlesbrough of the previous Middlesbrough style, of the Warnock style. They've actually got quite a few sort of more ball player sides in there. But Warnock's going to Warnock, and he's going to play the way that he likes to, and they've been pretty darn terrible recently. And I don't know how they beat Sheffield United, but then they go and lose 2-0 to Hull, and a Hull that had not won since the opening game of the season. They've just really disappointed this season, and it's not like you can see what he's trying to do after that. You can't see where they're going forward, and if that keeps up, they really are going to struggle. And I think Warnock's one of those managers that could well get moved on pretty darn soon. And I think I would actually have them in 13th to 21st personally.
Okay, so you're wanting to move them down. Matt, your decision, are you wanting to stick with your current decision? Or are you going to go with John?
I take your point, John. The reason I said they haven't invested heavily is what I should have probably said is they haven't invested as heavily as Neil Warnock would have liked to have invested, because he talked in the summer about, we're really going to have a go this year. We're really going to go for it with Borough. I really feel confident. We'll get some players in. And I don't think they've invested as heavily as he would have liked. Yes, they have brought some quality in and some ball players, and maybe they're looking to try and change their identity and their style a little bit. But as you rightly say, John, Warnock's Warnock. He only knows how to play one way, really, and he's been very successful doing it throughout his career. I'm happy to drop him down. I mean, if Warnock goes, I think they'll definitely play. I just think if Neil stays, they'll be around that 10th to 12th place. He'll solidify them and he'll keep them in and around mid-table. But I'm happy to go 13th to 21st, because they have been poor recently. They had a great result against Sheffield United, but apart from that, they've had some poor results as well. So, yeah.
Okay, Borough's been dropped down, and let's move on then to the next one, and that is for you, Aaron. That's Millwall. Position 11th, points 15th, 1-3, drawn 6, lost 2, goal difference 0, form draw, win. Previous prediction 13th to 21st. They're on the beach come March. I probably don't need to spend too much time on Millwall, Aaron. I think you got them before as well. I'm sure you did.
I get the most interesting ones, don't I? They don't lose many games. You say they've only lost 2 games. So they are the draw specialists. They're difficult to beat. There's a chance they could sneak into that top 12 and get a bit excited, and then and their fans will get all excited and think they're going to make a rush for the playoffs. I'm just trying to think now, changing it tactically, who else in that 13th to 21st could push up into that 7th to 12th spot now that Borough have.
I'd be looking lower than that for the team.
Yeah, that's exactly. I was about to say I'm going to swap Millwall with Middlesbrough, but I think we're on the same page there, which we'll come to, and I think that could be that team. So I'm going to keep Millwall there. They're not going to threaten anybody. We're not going to go up. We're not going to go down. Their fans don't even need to bother turning on all season.
Okay, so we're sticking with Millwall in 13th to 21st, correct?
Yeah,
I think so. I think they're similar to Middlesbrough, aren't they? For Millwall, see Middlesbrough, really.
Actually, I think I just better wear a mask when I go to the den later in the season now. I've just sign my own death warrant, haven't I? Well done.
Be careful, mate.
Okay, right. Let's stick with it. Right, John, over to you. Interesting, this one. Nottingham Forest, position 17th, points 11, 1-3, drawn 2, lost 6, goal difference 0, form, lose, win, drawn, win. Previous prediction, relegation. That was when they were managed by, obviously, not who they're managed by now. Steve Cooper's come in. He's got a reaction. Lewis Grabban's scoring goals again. Nottingham Forest, John.
Yeah, I'd like to defend myself in putting Nottingham Forest in the relegation zone from part 2, because it was Steve that moved Derby out of that position and felt I had to fill that gap with somebody. And Nottingham Forest were bottom at the time, I think. I didn't think that they were going to finish in the relegation zone at all, but I'm very much on the Steve Cooper bandwagon for them. I think he's not like the genius that I think many people seem to have come across that he is. Having said that, when you look at how Brighton's current manager, I've forgotten his name now, but when he managed Swansea, they had a bigger budget, a better playing squad, and he got them to mid-table. He's gone on to do well at Brighton. Steve Cooper had a lower budget. That was it. Steve Cooper had a lower budget, worse players, and he got them into the playoff place for 2 seasons in a row. The kind of pragmatic style that he can put in, he's already changed the formation and got them playing better football. I don't know what Chris Eden was really struggling so much with that squad. It's easily got enough quality to do well enough. You've got to look at Graben. You look at Zinkernagels, one of a fantastic creative midfielder that they got on loan from Norwich. I think it's Norwich. I actually think they're probably pushing to the top half. They are 17th at the moment, 4 points off the top half. I think they'll close that pretty darn quickly. They've already got 3 wins from the last 4. And unbeaten in those 4 games. Yeah, I'm going to move them 2 spaces and put them up into the 7th to 12th position.
Okay. Forest jump 2 categories and they go into 7th to 12th. Back to you then, Matt. Peterborough, another one. Position 23rd, points 8, 1-2, drawn 2, That's not lost. 37, by the way. Form lost, win, lose, drawn, loss. Previous prediction 13th to 21st. Obviously, Bournemouth, they struggled. We struggled to get a win at London Road. But it is a team that have been questioned by their chairman recently. They said they need to sort of come into reality because if they don't, they're going to be in deep trouble very soon.
Yeah, it was their home record that was propping them up, and we did a preview show, Kirk, didn't we, before Peterborough Bournemouth. So I've got a little bit of knowledge on Peterborough because obviously I did a bit of research on them. Their home record was propping them up. They've been awful away from home, very naive. But now they've lost home to Bristol City now in their last game. So they're scoring goals at home. Now they're conceding them. They set up to take a point against us, clearly, which they were successful in doing. Not that we turned up really that night. But I thought, I watched that game. I didn't go to the game, but I watched it. And I thought that I didn't go to Hull either. But I thought Peterborough were by far and away the poorest side that we've played this season. And you might disagree. Anybody who went to Hull might say different, but I thought they were really poor. Getting the balance right between attack and defence is going to be difficult for them. They seem to have some good young players, as I alluded to previously, but they're a bit naive. I think they're going to struggle come the end of the season, and I think I'd be tempted to drop them into the bottom three.
I would agree with that as well.
Yeah.
And that's where they're going to stay for now. Okay, so that's Peterborough. They've dropped into the bottom three in this tier list prediction. And now back to Aaron. You've got...
Actually, you're laughing again, aren't you? Here we go.
Position 18, points 11, 1-2, drawn 5, lost 4, goal difference -3, form, draw, lost. Previous prediction, 13th to 21st. They're another draw specialist. They're another team that's on the beach in March. Preston.
Stick, move on, next. No, look, in all honesty, I think the fact that we've now seem to have chosen our bottom three for now, Preston could slip into it if one of those teams picks up a little bit, but no, for me, stick them where they are, move on.
Okay.
Yep, I agree. If they finish 21st this season, they've had a great year.
Yeah, I think.
And the chat is agreeing with you. So we're going to stick with Preston. Sorry, Preston fans, didn't spend too much time on that, but you're going to be safe and you'll have another season in the Championship if we get this right. So over to John then, who gets another good team. QPR, position 6, points 18, 1-5, drawn 3, lost 3, goal difference +6, form, lose, win. We predicted playoffs. They have got goals in their team. John, I think they're the second highest goal scorers in the league. Cherries did beat them but QPR.
One less than Fulham, who are the top scorers. If anyone listens to or watches the Odd League of 72 show, you'll know their host, QPR fan. You'll have heard a lot about their trials and tribulations and how well slash and poorly at times they've done. And it's been they were a team that everyone knew was going to do well this season. Their business was fantastic. They brought in. They kept quite a few of the loan players that they brought in before, like the likes of Charlie Austin. Lyndon Dykes has actually started scoring a bit, and they've got the likes of Rob Dickey, who was quite possibly the best centre back in the division. Will undoubtedly play Premier League next season if it's not with QPR. They've got a squad that Ilias Chair is a fantastic creative infielder, along with one of the three great Willett brothers. They are one of the first teams that I had down for playoffs this season in terms of a nailed-on playoff contender. I don't think they've got enough to go up automatically. I don't think they've quite necessarily got quite the resilience or what is needed to go up automatically either, because they'll score a lot, but they're allowing other teams to put a lot away as well. So they kind of remind me a bit of Bournemouth pattern of we'll just try and make sure we outscore the opposition and that will do us. That will get them into the playoffs this season. I don't see that changing.
So we'll stick with QPR in the playoffs as we did the previous two times. And we'll go back to you then, Matt. And the next team on the list, we'll be going to the Medeski in a few weeks' time. And that is Reading. They're currently 10th, points 16. 1-5, drawn 1, lost 5, goal difference -2. Form guide, win, 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 lose, win. Previous prediction, 13th to 21st. I thought they'd struggle, Matt, but they'd won matches in this spell between the international windows. They also beat Fulham at Craven Cottage.
Yeah, that was a real turn up. I thought the start of the season, I thought Reading would struggle because not just the players that they've lost, but they seem to have some financial difficulties as well. There could even be a points deduction coming their way still, which is what it distorts this prediction league a little bit because we don't know, do we, who's going to get points deductions, how many they're going to get deducted, and what it's going to be. So let's assume that they're not getting points deducted at the moment. I still think they've got no money to buy any players yet. They've gone out and got Danny Drinkwater and Scott Dan. And they were linked with Andy Carroll on deadline day. And I was thinking, if they get Andy Carroll as well, and they have got some players injured and out with them, I don't think they've got a recognised striker at the moment. And they've still had some good results of late. I mean, going to Craven Cottage and winning was an unbelievable result for them. So taking that into account, I think they're going to be okay. I think they'll have enough. Their manager's done okay with what he's got. They have lost players, but I think what have we got them in at the moment? 13 to 21st.
Yeah,
we have. Yeah.
I think I'd keep him in there. So
we're going to stick with Reading in 13th to 21st. Matt's already put his get out of jail card as well, that we don't know if they're going to get points deduction, just for future reference. All right.
Yeah.
Right. Next team on the list then for you, Aaron, is Sheffield United. They're 14th, points 12, won 3, drawn 3, lost 5, goal difference -2. Form guide, drawn, win, win, lose, lose. Previous prediction, playoffs. They did get some wins in this spell. They didn't beat the Cherries after being 1-0 up. They tried to test our resolve. First time we went behind this season, but we did finally win the game. Sheffield United.
Yeah, I still feel they'll be up there. I guess, if we're doing this in a couple of months' time and they're still kind of lower, lower table, it might be wrong. But I still feel with the squad, the manager, but they'll certainly they'll make the playoffs. Obviously, they played. They were quite, it was a tough game. Obviously, conditions weren't great against us, but they proved a real handful. I was very surprised they lost 2-0 at Middlesbrough the previous game, which kind of then, just you think they're picking up a bit of form, they're going to have a result like that. So they obviously lost their last 2. But I still think I will still be very, very surprised if they're not top 6 at the end of the season. I think they'll be in the playoffs. Yeah, for sure.
We'll stick with Sheffield United. They're going to stay in the playoffs with this prediction. And we move on again back to John. I tell you what, John, you're getting some good teams tonight in this part 3. Next team on the list, Stoke City. Position 4, points 21, won 6, drawn 3, lost 2, goal difference +4. Form guide, drawn, lose, win, drawn, win. We predicted playoffs. They picked up points. I tell you what, they took West Brom's unbeaten run. They had to take West Brom's unbeaten run after missing all the chances they missed, including the penalty miss from Sam Surridge. Stoke City, John.
Yeah, I'm getting the good ones, Aaron's getting the bad ones, and Matt's getting the wild cards. I think that's how it's turned out so far, for some reason. But yeah, Stoke. I think this is another team that we started off keeping in the playoffs, and that has continued ever since. They again are a team that I do not think have got enough to go up automatically at all. But they clearly have quality enough to win games and shut out opposition, importantly as well, with the likes of Suter at the back. They do have a really good defence, and they've still got Tyrese Campbell to come back, who's arguably their best striker. So they've shown that they can win games, and they've shown that they can beat a team like West Brom, who admittedly were very poor, but they still had to put the ball in the back of the net, and eventually they did. Yeah, I don't really have too much to add apart from what everyone has already said about Stoke. They've got the quality, they've got the results. I think they'll stick in the playoffs.
Stoke City to stick and stay where they are in the playoffs then. And we're rattling through the teams now. Back with Matt, and you've got Swansea City, position 19th, points 11, won 2, drawn 5, lost 4, goal difference -5. Form, drawn, win, lose, draw. Previous prediction, 13th to 21st. They're out of parachute money. Matt, they've got a new manager in Russell Martin who has an indifferent style of managing, so we say. He'll probably cost them goals. But Swansea, will they stay where they are as well?
So Swansea, I always think Swansea, it's like a kindred spirit to us, really. We followed the Swansea model a little bit. When Swansea went up to the Premier League, they played expansive football. They got on the front foot. They pushed their, under Brendan Rodgers. And then Eddie Howe obviously emulated that. He was a big fan of Brendan Rodgers, wasn't he? So similar size club. Swansea are a bit of a bigger club than us, but they were successful with that model. We sort of emulated it, got ourselves to the Premier League, and they've come down. They've come down sooner than us. And you've just seen it evolve as to their parachute payment, season 1, season 2, season 3. Now they're out. They've not managed to get themselves back up. So this is the future for us. This is what we're going to mirror. We will be Swan City in a couple of seasons if we don't manage to get up in the next 2 seasons, I feel, because they're out. They've been forced to sell players. They've obviously lost their managers. So the consistency and the stability's started to wane a little bit for them. And results on the pitch are going to suffer. So that's where they're at. And we've just got to make sure that we don't emulate that, we don't copy that, and we get ourselves up, because that will be us in 2 seasons' time, maximum for me. So I wouldn't move them out of 13th to 21st. I think they've still got enough within their squad to survive, to stay up. And they've showed that. They've had a couple of decent results this season already. I think Russell Martin is a manager that's a young manager, but he's gaining experience. I think he'll have enough about him, and they'll have enough about them to stay up. But I wouldn't want to take him out of that 13th to 21st position. And I'm just hoping that we don't follow suit in the next couple of years, really.
So should be okay this season based on this tier list prediction. We'll stick with Swansea City and we move on. 2 teams left, including the Cherries. Aaron, you've got the next team, and that is West Brom. They are currently second, points 22, won 6, drawn 4, lost 1, goal difference plus 11, form guide drawn, win, lose, previous prediction automatics. Their unbeaten run, as I said, did go there, just beneath the Cherries in the official table. West Brom.
Yeah, and I watched the game against Stoke. I was really impressed with Stoke, but West Brom weren't great. I think John had a point earlier. They can be one-dimensional, but I think they are ruthless, and they have got a forward line who will cause problems. And they're just hard to play against. They're just a horrible team to play against. But they did have that run, of draws when they hadn't won that many in their last 6. I'm just looking at the form guide. Yeah, so they've 2 out of their last 5 they've won. So they're not on top form. Look, I think we've said what we can about Fulham and West Brom. I think with us coming next, what I'm actually going to do is make this easy. I'm not going to move them out for now. I'm going to keep them where they are. But I think then the discussion we're going to have on Bournemouth, we then decide if Bournemouth make the top 2, who then comes out. But I'm going to leave that space. I'm going to leave West Brom and Fulham in there for now, and then we can debate it coming up.
Okay, so we're going to leave West Brom where they are right now. And what that means is we're down to 1 more team. And I'm going to quickly go around each of you now, just a short period of time, giving your thoughts on the Cherries in this spell that we've had. And Bournemouth. First, top of the Championship, points 25, won 7, drawn 4, 0 losses, goal difference plus 10, form guide win, drawn, win. That only draw at Peterborough. A previous prediction was the playoffs. Over to you, John. 2 minutes.
Yeah, so if you watched, if you saw Sam's appearance on Benjamin Bloom's show earlier today, he gave Bournemouth an A- because of how well we've done, but how there are definite areas to improve. I think we've been a little bit lucky in quite a lot of games in terms of our conversion rate is really ridiculously good. And we've only had half an hour, really had games where we've only performed for half an hour going forward in terms of, you look at QPR, you look at Luton, where we don't start well, we batter them for half an hour and then just hang on for the rest of the game. And, that can only get you so far, I feel, if you can't maintain that fantastic defensive record, which at the moment, we may well do. It just depends how long Gary Cahill can stay in the starting 11. It's really difficult at the moment with me with Bournemouth to try and take out my bias and look at, how the team have performed compared to what we can do. Where can we go from here? The thing is that I think we do have so much more that we can do, so much better we can perform in a few different areas. And the consistency that we've shown so far, it's going to be impossible to keep that going for the rest of the season. But there's a lot of positives to look at into how we can continue. And I'm loath to sort of like be too positive, but I do feel as though we are in a really good position to go up automatically this season. And I probably would look to move us up in the tier list.
Matt, can we keep getting away with holding on for 30 minutes in these matches where it's 2-1? I know you said that you're not sure how many more matches you can watch.
Well, the test was what happens when we go behind. We've seen what happened against Sheffield United. We showed tremendous character there. I thought we responded unbelievably to that and managed to win the game 2-1. The test now will be what happens when we get beaten, because as we've all alluded to, I think Aaron said it earlier, we're going to get beaten at some point very soon. Let's be honest, this is the Championship. How are we going to react to that? I would say that there's two things that I think of here. Firstly, you've got to give the board unbelievable credit, because I've been very vocal in being critical of the board on many levels, on the field and off the field in recent years. But you've got to say the business that we've done on the pitch on the playing side, the last 18 months since we got relegated has been nothing short of phenomenal. The money that's been brought into the club versus the players that we've brought in and where our squad sits now, it's been nothing short of phenomenal, because we've now got a squad that can really challenge for automatic promotion back to the Premier League, spending very little money and getting a lot of money through back into the club as well. The second thing is that we didn't allow for is for these youngsters coming through to be so good, because in July, who thought that Jordan Jamura, Jayden Anthony, and even Gavin Kilkenny, Ibsen Rossi, all these players were going to come through and we're going to start really not just playing in the Championship, but making a real impact, making a difference to games, really shining. I couldn't see that in July, and we've got that. So it's twofold. We've got a perfect balance. When you look at Gary Cahill at the back, marshalling things now, the way he does, the experience he's got, and how he's performing, the solidity that we've got, and the attacking, all the options we've got, the squad that we've got, I wouldn't swap it for anybody at the moment. So you've got we're three. I know it's early days, but with 3 points clear, you've got to be positive. And we're going to win the league, aren't we? Come on.
So okay, hold it there then. And Aaron, can some of these youngsters that have been absolutely amazing play for 46 games? And can Scott Parker manage potential players that are not getting as much game time as they want?
It's a good question about the youngsters. Zamora and Anthony, for me, haven't been as effective the last couple of games. That's not because of them. That's because I think teams have begun to work us out. Like, we were flying. Think early games in the season that they were trying to double up on Brooks or whoever was on the right hand side. And Zamora and Anthony were literally running amok, running the Championship, taking them apart. Peterborough did a job on us, as Matt's already said. And I think Sheffield United to some degree, and even Luton, we had not as much luck down that left-hand side. So I do wonder how that's going to play out a bit, because people are fully aware of that now. We've also it's been mentioned that we've played a lot of the lower half teams already, which people can look at it two ways. Someone can say, we've only played the lower half teams, wait till we play the hard teams. But sometimes we play better against the better teams. Against QPR, we played really well. And against the likes of Peterborough and Hull, we don't always raise again. Blackpool, so I'm not convinced that that's necessarily a bad thing for us, because teams who come and park the bus, like Peterborough did, we struggle to sometimes break them down. So I don't mind playing some of the better teams and going toe to toe with them. I'd agree with the other two. I think we've got a hell of a squad. We've got Lewis Cook to come back, Stanislas to come back, obviously quite imminently. Gary Cahill for me has been a sensational signing, just unbelievable, exactly what we need. Keeping players happy, that's a job of a manager. It's always going to be difficult. You can only pick 11 players, and there's players who aren't even getting on the bench at the moment. Kilkenny and Rossi being two of them who perform really well and aren't getting on the bench, and there's going to be decisions to be made. The likes of Marcondes might drop off, and Lewis Cook's back, so it's going to be difficult. But it's a long, hard season. Some players will be missing against Bristol. I think Lerman's going to be out, but because he's playing on Thursday. But my answer is, I can see you're itching for the answer. The answer is going
question.
Go on.
Right, one question. Right, it's going round now. So it's one answer. Playoffs or automatics? Aaron?
Automatic.
John? Playoffs or automatics?
Kind of begrudgingly, I'll say automatics.
Matt? Playoffs or automatics?
Position we're in now, everything that's happened, you've got to say automatic. You can't say anything else at the moment.
So we're going to change it in a few weeks. It's fine. Don't worry about it.
Like John said, in 5 minutes. Right, next question, Matt. I'm coming back to you, going around the other way now. So, West Brom or Fulham into the playoffs? West Brom or Fulham?
For me, Fulham playoffs and West Brom up with us for the reasons I said earlier. I just think Fulham have got the squad, but have they got the manager? And are they championship savvy? Because Fulham remind me of us last season, where we were going into games and everybody in the championship, everybody in the football world was saying, oh, look at that team Bournemouth have got. They're going to wipe the floor with this lot today. And whoever we were playing. And more often than not, we didn't do that. And Fulham have shown this season that it's not just about the ability that players have got and the team has got. It's about attitude as well. It's about work rate. It's about desire. It's about a manager that can influence that and can lead the team. So for that reason, I just think West Brom, they are a horrible side to play. I take John's points, of course I do, but I just feel that when it comes to the crunch, they're a nasty side to play, and they are more championship savvy with the manager they've got as well. Look what he did with Barnsley last season. Top two, Bournemouth champions, West Brom second, Fulham third.
John, West Brom or Fulham for the playoffs?
So I already spoke about why I think at the moment I believe that West Brom are more likely to drop into the playoffs come the end of the season. It's an interesting point you talk about the manager. Admittedly, yes, you're absolutely right. Silva doesn't have any experience in the Championship. However, what Silva has been is he has been the manager of a team that are expected to win the league over in Turkey. That was where he originally made his name before he was actually picked up in England by Hull originally, funnily enough. Mm. Whereas with Valerian Ismail, yes, he did brilliantly in Barnsley, but that was a Barnsley team that had the third lowest budget in the division, in a similar position to Coventry are in now. He was a manager of a team that was always the underdog. They were always the underdog, and every single game they were always going to play the same way, where they were not expected to have the ball and they could play the underdog card. That's not how we can do it with our West Brom. West Brom fans are already not happy a little bit with the way that they're playing under Ismail. He's expected to go in and win games and win them well, and he's not doing that more recently. They've got 4 draws in a row, was it, or something like that? Certainly, 3 draws in a row. It's difficult. I really can understand both arguments, but for me, I do think it's more likely that West Brom are going to drop into third place, and that's who I would put in the playoffs right now.
Aaron, settle this argument. I'm going to give you one word, just one word. It's West Brom or Fulham. You get the defining answer.
3 words. Couldn't care less. I'm going to say, okay. I'll stick with what I said earlier. West Brom will go up. Fulham third.
Okay. Do you know what? Let's just show that final tier list then. And you'll see the Cherries are currently top of the table in the official table, and they're now in the top category as well in the tier list. That is our tier list for part 3. AFC Bournemouth, West Brom to get automatics, relegation, Hull City, Derby County and Peterborough to go down. There it is, guys. We did it. And we are just going to close this show out in just a few minutes. We're just going to have a quick chat about the Cherries. They got Bristol City next week, and how are they going to be looking in a few weeks' time? We're probably going to do this in about 6 games' time again. Thank you for joining us this evening. If you weren't able to join us live, no problem. Let us know your thoughts in the comments. We'll read every single one. Make sure you subscribe to Cherries Red Army. Help us get to 700. Hit the like button. Also, thank you to all of our channel supporter members. We really do appreciate your support. You currently see our current supporter members on the banner at the bottom of the screen. Very quickly then, guys, got 5 minutes before we close the show out. Matt, brilliant to have you on this evening. We'll have you on more this season. And
thanks for having me, Doug.
We got Bristol City then next weekend. We've got 18 points that we could potentially win between now and the next international window. How many points will the Cherry get from that 18?
I'm ever the optimist at the moment because we're 3 points clear at the top. So part of me wants to say we need to be getting about 14 or 15 points from that. But let's be realistic. We have rode our luck a little bit in certain games, and it will come back to, but we will get bitten by that. We will get beaten up. I would be happy with 11 or 12 points. I think we were speaking about this off air, but I think that's realistic, and that will still have us in and around that top 2 area. So we'll go with. I'll go with 12 points because I know Aaron thought 11. So I'll go 12 points out of 18, which will be a fantastic return.
Great to have you on again, John. Charlie's just come in the chat and said that Bristol not won at home in 15.
Oh,
if that
don't
is
say
correct.
Yeah, exactly. I mentioned off before that they were on a ridiculously bad record at home without a win, and I did look it up with 15. I backed Charlie's point up, which means obviously it means that Bristol are going to win. So that'll be 2 records broken in quick succession. But I really do look at the games coming up: Bristol away, Stoke away, Huddersfield at home, Reading away, Preston at home, and Swansea at home. I'm actually not so. I know Aaron was saying that he's confident if we're going to lose, it's probably going to be at Stoke. I'm not quite so certain that we're necessarily going to lose that one, and I think we'll do okay away at Bristol. I wouldn't be surprised if we still had our unbeaten record. Despite me sort of saying I don't want to be too optimistic, I could still see us going unbeaten in those 6 games, and I think it's maybe a bit overly optimistic, but I think 14 points is possible with 4 wins and 2 draws. I honestly do from those games. But, I think I don't want to get too carried away, despite the fact that I think we're going to go unbeaten the rest of the championship the way that I'm talking about things. But yeah, I'm really confident with how we're doing, and Bristol away is a good one to get us back into the swing of things, I think.
Aaron, how many points will the Cherries get then out of 18 in those 6 games we've got coming up?
I'm going to be pessimistically realistic. If we are unbeaten after these 6 games, then we're in a very, very good spot, in my opinion. I think the next 2 away are going to be tough. Look, Bristol's home record isn't good, but they're going to be decent, and Stoke will give us a real challenge. I'm just going to stick my neck out and say we're going to lose at some stage. I think we're going to lose at some stage in the next 6 games. Probably, for me, the most likely Stoke away on paper. I think we'll win the 3 home games. I'm going to stick with 11 points. If we get more than that, fantastic.
Brilliant. Really enjoyed it, guys. That's our part 3 of revisiting the championship predictions tier list. Matt, hopefully see you on Saturday. Have a good week.
Yeah, look forward to it. And yourself. Have a good week, guys. Pleasure being on.
John, always great to see you. Thanks for coming on.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for having me on again.
And Aaron, hope to see you Saturday at Bristol City as well.
Yeah. See you soon, guys. Always a pleasure.
Cheers for your support on this tier list. Just to let you know as well, Talking Cherries, you follow them on Twitter. They've got an event coming up very soon, October the 21st at the Vitality Stadium. Starts at 7:30 with it really starting at 8 o'clock, but you can get there from 7:30. A Talking Cherries event, there's going to be Simon Francis, hopefully Mark McAdam. I'll be doing a preview for Bristol City at some point this week, and there'll be a clip in the preview for you to find out more. So definitely check that out. And as I said, we're going to Bristol City, so we should have a match day vlog for you next weekend, and hopefully there'll be goals and hopefully there'll be another Cherries win. But that's our latest video, our latest stream with the tier list. Thank you to everyone who got involved. Thank you to the guys currently on screen with me, and thank you for you for watching. Until the next video, from me, Aaron, John and Matt, we'll see you soon. Up the Cherries.